Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Speaker, they may be working hard to hide it, but under this government's watch, things keep going from bad to worse. No one knows that fact better than parents, teachers, and students across this province. Speaker, there is lead in the water, our schools are crumbling, and this government thinks the answer is cramming more kids in classrooms, firing teachers, and gutting school budgets. My question is simple. Does the Premier still think balancing the budget on the backs of our students, staff, and families is a good idea?
Questions addressed to the Premier.
Minister of Education.
Referred to the Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, it is this government that is investing over $13 billion over the next decade to improve schools, improve facilities in every region of Ontario. But, Mr. Speaker, we're also investing this year alone over $500 million allocation to improve the state of schools inherited from the former Liberal government after 15 years of dereliction of duty. Mr. Speaker, in addition, we are meeting the Auditor General's request or recommendation of 2.5% allocations to improve schools. But, Mr. Speaker, what is also important is an acceptance. It is an acceptance, Mr. Speaker, that intergenerational debt is morally wrong. The transfer of debt from one generation on to the next is not an acceptable proposition for the very parents we suggest we represent. Families in this province want us to invest in the front lines, keep taxes low, grow the economy, while doing what we do best, which is creating the conditions for young people to achieve their full potential in Ontario.
The supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, you can put a new spin on these things, but it's the same old story. 7 schools in my community alone have been found to have unsafe levels of lead in the water, and there are thousands more across the province. So let's do the math, shall we? 15 years of Liberal inaction resulted in a $15.9 billion school repair backlog. Now, in just over a year, the government has grown that backlog to over $16.3 billion. That's about $500 million. And that doesn't even include the cost to remove the lead from our schools. Given that the fiscal update yesterday did nothing to fix the damage that this government has done in the year they've been in power,
Question.
When is the government going to do the right thing, reverse the cuts, and stop hurting our families?
Minister of Education.
Well, thank you, Speaker. It is under the Minister of Finance's leadership yesterday, he confirmed that we're in fact on track to spend $1.2 billion more than we did last year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we announced in our last budget a $550 million investment to improve schools, $80 million to improve childcare facilities, because we accept after 15 years of the former Liberal government, there is so much more to do to support our kids in schools with better facilities. But, Mr. Speaker, what I said earlier, $1 billion a month on interest, spending money that we do not have is not in the interest of the next generation. They want governments to live within their means. They want governments to set them up for economic success.
Order.
That's why we're growing the economy, so that we're able to invest more, as the Minister of Finance confirmed just yesterday, more money than ever before in the history of this province in healthcare and education and the social services that every family deserves.
Response.